So many of us want to follow God when things are good, but sometimes God has to let you go into the wilderness. Sometimes God has to bring you into a desert. Sometimes God has to bring you out of your comfort zone so that you can actually learn to trust him. It says in the book of Matthew, when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, it says immediately, the Spirit drove him into the desert, into desolate places, where there he was tempted by the devil for 40 days. It actually says that the Spirit of God drove him to a place of hardship, a place of wilderness. The Spirit led him to go into a place to be tempted and to a place to be hungry, a place of fasting, of suffering. And I think sometimes we don't realize that sometimes the Spirit is going to be the one bringing you into the hardship. Sometimes it's not the devil bringing you into the wilderness, it's God bringing you into the wilderness. You see, God led the Israelites on purpose through the wilderness, and he showed up in the wilderness when they were escaping from Egypt, and God parted the Red Sea and told Pharaoh to let my people, and God used Moses to tell Pharaoh to let my people go, and he let the people go. Then they're in the desert. He feeds them with manna. He feeds them with quail. They keep complaining. He brings water from a rock. It says that their feet, their sandals did not wear out for those many years, but they still grumbled and they still complained that they were in the wilderness. All the while, God was trying to take them to the promised land, but they didn't believe God. And I'm telling you today that God's going to allow you to go through the wilderness, but he's still going to provide for you there. God's going to allow you to suffer. 1 Peter 1, Romans 5, James 1, all talk about suffering through trials. But then it says God's doing that to test your faith so that you can grow stronger, so that you can grow bolder, so that you can grow wiser, so that your faith can grow deeper. Don't despise the wilderness. Let the Spirit drive you there and connect to God when you're there. I'm not talking about a literal wilderness. I'm talking about a place of pain in your life. Meet God there. Meet God. You know what Philippians 3:10 says? I want to know Jesus. I want to know him in the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of sufferings, so that by any means possible I may obtain the resurrection of the dead. You know what it says? I want to know him. I want to know God. But you know what? I want to know him through suffering too. I want to know the power of his resurrection, but that doesn't come unless you go through the cross first. The cross always comes before the resurrection. Embrace the cross. Take up your cross and follow him. Because if anyone does not take up his cross, and follow Jesus, you're not worthy to be his disciple.